You're listening to NorthWoods Church Matters, a podcast of NorthWoods Church in Evansville, Indiana, where we discuss why the local church matters and things that matter to the local church. I'm your host, Matt Higgins. Hey guys, welcome back to NorthWoods Church Matters podcast, and I'm here with another one of our lay elders. This is the number 2 lay elder to come and sit down for a podcast recording. This is Mr. Brian Dempsey, and if you're at NorthWoods and you see somebody carrying around multiple grandchildren in the lobby, that's probably Brian Dempsey. How many grandchildren do you have now, Brian?
We have 9. It's very, very exciting.
Is that counting the one that's on the way?
No, that would be 10, but they're not here yet, so we're going to say 9.
Can you carry them all in one vehicle?
Absolutely not.
You need a caravan to carry around all your grandchildren.
We need a bus.
Yeah. What is it like at your house when you have all 9 kids? Has that ever happened?
Absolutely. The extra baggage that they bring is their parents. And so mayhem and chaos are the 2 things that come to mind. But I'm going to tell you what, it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
To see their personalities, to see them grow up, to see how the older ones take care of the younger ones. It's never a dull moment.
There's no friends like cousin friends either.
No friends like cousin friends. That's exactly right.
They can get into some serious trouble together.
I don't think we'd have it any other way.
That's awesome.
Because we can send them home.
Yeah. Well, let's go back in time and start at the beginning. So where did you grow up, Brian?
I grew up right here in Evansville.
Are you West Sider or East Sider?
Actually, as the crow flies, 3 miles from here.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in New Melody Hills, right behind the airport.
Okay.
Pretty good time. Great neighborhood, a lot of good friends, and we all just kind of ran in a pack.
Mm-hmm.
But we respected each other. We stayed till the bell rang or it got dark when the streetlights came on.
Mm-hmm.
We went home.
So what do you remember from childhood? You've already talked a little bit about it.
We pretty much have gone to church as a family my whole life. My grandfather was a General Baptist minister. I never met him. He passed away before my mom and dad were married. But my great-grandfather went to church with them, mom and dad. We kind of made the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
One of the neighborhood churches that was very close was Olivet Presbyterian Church.
Yeah.
And there was a pastor that was there that was probably the most Baptist Presbyterian minister I've ever met in my life. I'll never forget him because he played an instrumental part in my life, teaching me at a younger age about Christ and Christ's love. And that was Reverend O.J. Rundus. And just an awesome man. Nobody's ever heard of a Presbyterian church having a revival, but yes, he would have one. And,
Presbyterian, that needs to be a song. Presbyterian revival.
Ray Stevens.
Ray Stevens would do that.
Yes, he would.
Ray Stevens, if you're out there, please write a song called Presbyterian Revival.
At a young age, I felt like I had made a commitment to Christ, but at the young age that I was, we went to another church and got lost in the shuffle. And so I didn't really feel like I was as engaged as I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Got up in high school and started understanding salvation, accepted Christ, baptized. As a young teenager, I wouldn't say I was rebellious, but there were probably some things we got into that we really shouldn't have. We didn't break the law. We didn't do anything like that, but we weren't where we sometimes needed to be.
Sure. Especially you run with a bunch of teenage boys, there's bound to be stupid decisions
there were.
Get made. Yeah.
There definitely were.
Yeah. So tell me more about how did you come into a relationship with Jesus? What specifically was going on? Do you remember the event or the service?
We were in just a general service. I knew something different was going on in my life. Through Sunday school, was starting to ask more questions. 16, 17 years old. On a Sunday morning, I just felt the Spirit, and I just said, you know what? It's time to give my life to Christ. Step forward, and Pastor Harlan Weber, we prayed, and I prayed to receive Christ. That's when I was baptized. And started serving in some different capacities. Pastor Weber was really big on including the teenagers and young adults that were getting ready to go into college and things like that in an active part of the ministry at church. And somehow I got picked to once a month lead the congregation music-wise.
Really?
Yes. In a former life, don't look at me that way.
As interim worship leader, yes, I am looking at you in a certain way.
But traditional, older church, singing the hymns and stand up there with the 4/4 motion, and you just really thought you were something.
You do the figure 4.
Yeah, but I look forward to that. I'm to share my life, and if that's one of the ways that I can share and make a difference in somebody's life, I'm okay with it. And so did a lot of different things. We worked at a lot of different, local missions. We didn't really do mission trips outside of the area, but we did service projects. And so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you struggle after you became a Christian?
Obedience. And I think that's something I still struggle with even today.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I think it's a natural reaction. We're taught to be independent and we're taught to make our own decisions. But when we relax and we pray about it and we become obedient to what God's will is, you just feel a peace and a calm come over you.
And everybody's going to have that particular struggle that when you become a Christian, there's the war within you about the flesh and the spirit.
Absolutely.
Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you don't wrestle with that. What I want to do versus what Christ calls me to do, that struggle is always going to be there.
It truly is.
So tell me about Pam, your wife. She's a hoot. So how did you meet Pam?
Pam is originally from Rome.
Rome, Georgia?
Well, it is Rome, Georgia. I usually pause and people say, Rome.
Italia.
Yeah. Italy? I said, no, Georgia. And it's like, oh, okay. And I always tease that she moved up here with her parents from Rome, Georgia to seek me out, which is not true. She moved up here. Her mom and dad moved to the big metropolis of Vine Grove, Kentucky to help take care of her grandmother, who was terminally ill. When she passed away, her grandfather was still alive, and her dad's job brought them to Evansville. Believe it or not, I met Pam on a blind date.
You were set up?
A buddy of mine introduced us. He said, I know this girl, you need to go out with. You have a lot of fun and everything like that. He was exactly right. The funny part of the story is we went out that night. I took her back home. She gave me her telephone number. And so I gave it a day or so, and then I called, and no answer. For a couple of days, I tried to call, no answer, and I thought, well, this little girl has completely given me the slip. Fast forward 5 days, and I feel like the heel because her grandfather, they got a call 3 hours after I dropped her off at home that he had passed away.
Oh,
and so they up and went to Georgia. So when she got back, she called me, and I'm like, okay, open my mouth and take my foot out. I said, I'm really sorry. But the final chapter of the story was when she was in Georgia, her cousin, they're as close as sisters. She said, I've met the guy I'm going to marry.
Oh, wow. She really did come back from Rome for you.
She did. She most definitely did.
Your children are rolling their eyes somewhere.
They would expect nothing different from their dad.
Right.
Has it always been easy? No. No marriage is perfect. No marriage is a cakewalk. But the best part about it is we've worked through it together. We'll celebrate 32 years next month.
Tell us about your kids.
God's blessed us with 3 great daughters. We have Kelsey, who is the oldest. She's a school teacher. Her and her husband, Graham, have Miss Lydia. Kirsty's number 2. Her husband is Andrew. And they have 4 children, Aiden, Avery, Aaliyah, and Asher. And she lives just north of Atlanta. And then we have Megan. Megan has 4 children, carrying number 5.
Yeah.
Proud of all of them. Megan was married to Matt. Matt is Canadian.
We'll overlook the fact that he's Canadian.
Well, believe it or not, though, God had a plan because his dad came down here and worked for a local company, didn't like it. He left. Matt became smitten with Megan, which I told him, you can change your mind. Nobody's holding a gun to you.
Yeah.
But they have the 4 kids. They have Eli, Jedediah, Hattie Grace, and Ezekiel. And they think all indications are we have another little girl.
Oh, awesome.
God's blessed us well.
So what are you currently learning about Jesus? What is he teaching you right now?
To be humble in all situations. Without going into detail, I had in 2018 a very serious health scare. Put my family through some things completely unexpected.
Yeah.
As we've came out of that and we've learned from that, it's really taught me to be humble and take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
Every day truly is a gift from God.
How's things going with your health situation? I knew that at one point in time you were looking at a transplant. Is that still in the books? Or
Not even on the radar right now.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show when this all happened, God's hand was in the middle of this. A friend of mine that I went to high school with, Pam knows real well. She was supposed to be off work, but she ended up working, and she was in the procedure room when this all happened. And she said at one point, she just happened to look up, and everybody in the room was praying. I've learned to do what the doctor says. Back Memorial Day, I tried to kind of adjust a couple things. Thought I maybe knew more than the doctor did. Nah, that's wrong. But other than that, I do. I feel good. I feel very lucky to be where I'm at.
Do you feel like the Lord healed you?
Yes. My doctor in Indianapolis, she is a Christian. I think God put the right people in place for us to carry out his healing plan.
Yeah.
Now, is that to say that something couldn't change and down the road I become a candidate for a transplant? But as it is right now, as long as I'm obedient.
Yeah. That's tough sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
As long as I follow her instructions and the other team of doctors that I have, God's definitely played a part in that.
And I think that when people often think about healing in the Bible, they think of some of the supernatural stuff that happens in Acts where an apostle reaches out to somebody and then spectacularly they're healed. And they often think about Benny Hinn on TV where he's smacking people down. But I really believe that God uses people. He can work through different people. And the number of times where we know as a church that somebody has gone into the hospital and then a specific set of circumstances has happened, or God just superintends something, or a certain person from the church is there at the hospital. I mean, it's just amazing to watch this stuff unfold. And you can see God all along that process working towards your good.
And we definitely, as we went back and replayed the information that was given to us, I had a endoscopy scheduled. My normal doctor, who had done this several times, he wasn't available. So his associate, she took over, and they told us, said, had this been your doctor, after about 10 minutes, he would have said, no, we're done. She worked on me for 38 minutes till they got a heartbeat back. She was as gracious and upfront with us that, hey, God played a part in this.
Yeah.
I think God definitely uses people.
Sometimes people are looking so hard for the big miracle that they miss the little miracle. That particular doctor being there in the right place and not the other one, we can say that's miraculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And God superintending all the way, that whole process.
God had his hand in this to orchestrate the people being in place to keep me alive.
Yeah. And that's
a miracle to me.
Yeah. To me too. In my book as well.
Absolutely.
Let's turn to some fun stuff, man.
Okay.
So people don't know that you had a other second career as a soccer referee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Was that for girls soccer, for boys soccer, for all of the above?
The way I got started as a soccer referee was our daughters, all 3 of them played travel soccer. Kelsey was the first one, oldest, to play. And we were at a tournament. The referees were horrid. And I'm thinking, you know what? If that's what it takes, I can do that. And one of the other dads were there. It's like, this is terrible. And so when you go to a soccer tournament, a lot of times they're looking for referees. We came back, took the class, started refereeing games. It takes a special person.
Yeah.
And I'm not patting myself on the back at all. It takes very thick skin.
You could take a lot of abuse from people on the sidelines.
You do, and the younger the parents, the worse they are.
Mm.
You know, we try to get young kids involved. The parents run it for them. To the point that I had some business cards made up. In soccer, if you get a yellow card, it's like a warning. You get a red card, you are out of the game.
Yeah.
So I had these cards, just Vistaprint. They were yellow. They had a whistle on them. And it just said, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. And gave 2 websites to how you could become a referee.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot tell you how many people I've handed those to. I've had referees come say, hey, you got any of those cards left? Like, yeah, here, take some. You hand them to a parent. By the time you walk off, they look down and they're like, that guy just gave me a yellow card. Yeah. I very, very seldom anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I made some really good friends, a lot of camaraderie. But it's time to move on.
So, what is the first concert you ever attended?
Steve Martin.
Really? Like a comedy?
Walk
banjo?
Like an Egyptian.
Why? Oh, I would have loved to have been
He was
that
at
concert.
Roberts Stadium
wow.
with the arrow on his head and the banjo.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am super jealous. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What a great first concert that is.
Absolutely.
What is the worst food ever?
Buttermilk.
Really?
I just can't do buttermilk.
Did people drink buttermilk straight in your house? Or?
My grandmother.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That should be illegal in 50 states.
Thank you very much.
That stuff's made for cooking, not for anything else.
That's exactly right.
Who is someone that you miss?
My parents.
Yeah.
Absolutely, my parents.
Yeah. I met them both. They were beautiful people.
My dad and I forged a very, very close relationship. He taught me how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
The boat that I have, I bought because of him.
Mm-hmm.
Mom would love to go too, but if I picked the phone up and said, Dad, let's go, he was right there and ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't care if we caught a fish or not, but the time that we spent together.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you a quick funny story about him. Mom and Dad had a house at Rough River Lake, and we were fishing down there, just Dad and I, and one of the techniques we were using, we were pulling crankbaits. And Dad had this one particular crankbait that he loved, and you couldn't buy him anymore. It was called a sparkle tail. All of a sudden, his rod just takes off, and he grabs and he's cranking and everything. Well, finally, this fish gets up to the boat, and we discover that it is a big, probably 20-pound carp.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Dad, I'm going to cut the line. He goes, no, I want my sparkle tail back. And I said, Dad, we do not want to bring this nasty fish in the boat. Well, here, I'll just get it. I said, Dad, it's not a good idea. He goes, dip it with the net. I said, okay. So I dipped it with the net. Dad reaches down there and he's trying to get this thing, and this thing flips and it buries the hook in his hand.
Oh, no.
And I mean, it buries it big time. We get it loose from the fish, send the fish down. And I look at him, I said, now what are we going to do? He said, what do you mean? I said, are we going to the hospital in Evansville, or are we going to go to Hardensburg, which was closer?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, be quiet, just take me to a doctor. I said, yeah, you had to have that lure back, didn't you?
Yeah. Lure was probably not the same after the end of that story.
No, it was not. So, I mean, it's memories like that of my dad. Love my mom to death. She taught me a lot.
She made you drink buttermilk.
No, my grandma did.
Your grandmother did, yeah.
She made me try it. But I see a lot of my mom in my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible because I'll look at my sister every once in a while and I'll say, look, Marty. And she's like, I'm doing it, aren't I? I say, yeah, you are. It's okay. That's it.
What profession would you like to try if you weren't plumbing?
Probably a fireman.
Really?
I was on Knight Township Fire Department for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. Ended up as an instructor on the dive team and all that kind of stuff. And just the excitement. Even now, you see the fire trucks go by. It's like, man, I wonder where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
But when the kids came along and everything, you couldn't do it all.
What do you do to relax?
We've already hit it.
Fishing.
I'm going to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a peacefulness out on the water at sun up or sundown to see just God's beauty. Where we have a house at Barkley Lake, it is incredible in a very close proximity out over the water, nesting bald eagles. And I think they're the most majestic birds you've ever seen.
Yeah.
To see when the leaves come off the trees and to see the nests, or early in the season when you see the eaglets. I could sit and watch it all day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, hope the fish don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But other times, got people to feed.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're all there by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. What is your favorite music album?
I can't say that there's one album because I enjoy so many different types of music. I had a teacher in high school. He was our biology teacher, but he taught us more about music. We were listening to Mannheim Steamroller in high school.
Oh, wow.
People were like, what's that? I've never heard of them. Yeah, you do. Because there was a news channel in Evansville. Their intro music was Mannheim Steamroller. And at the time, it was called Fresh Air before they changed their name. I like Southern gospel music. I like country music. Big time. We sang in the concert choir with school, helped run sound and all that kind of stuff. We had a group that we worked together and won the state fair one year. There's times that it just really doesn't matter. The 50s, 60s, 70s music. I'm not a real hard rock person, and I'm definitely not a rap person. But just about anything else, I love, if I feel myself a little stressed and I'm driving, a little smooth jazz.
Oh, yeah.
You lay back, and I just love it. I have been to Nashville, been to New Orleans, and the only thing I really, really like about them is you can walk down the street and hear a different type of music just walking down the street.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I like live music probably more than recorded.
Mm-hmm.
But if I need to just really relax, the smooth jazz is the way to go.
I've learned something new today. You should have your own smooth jazz station. You should be DJ. That'll be your next profession.
I've actually done that. A good friend of mine and I started a disc jockey business coming out of high school. His name was William Parker. I'm Brian Andrew, and so we went with P&A Sounds. Man, we had the jackets and had like a panda bear on the back and all that, and played a lot of wedding receptions and things like that. Had a blast. Absolutely had a blast.
Wow, I feel like I'm learning so much on this. Last question is, what is your favorite dessert? Don't tell me Pam Dempsey can't cook a mean dessert.
She can, but the best dessert I've ever had is a chocolate pie from Max Barbecue. And Max Barbecue no longer exists. One of the first jobs I ever had. I didn't even drive.
Was that here in town?
It was right here locally. There was a lady that did all their pies, Mrs. Brewer. And Mrs. Brewer's son, Tom, and I graduated together. And she made a lot of different kinds of pie, and she had recipes for everything but the chocolate pie. And when she passed away, that recipe that was in her head passed away.
Wow.
And it was just the creamiest, most pleasant pie. Oh, my goodness.
Good chocolate pie isn't that sweet. It's got a very chocolatey taste.
She had it down. And so many people would say, hey, can I get that recipe? Nope.
And literally went to the grave with her.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So I miss that. And so right now I'd have to say probably cheesecake. Yeah, a cheesecake, because I can't get my chocolate pie anymore.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening and you have a good chocolate pie recipe, make sure to pass it on to Brian and Pam so they can try it out.
That would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me for a little while, Brian.
Man, I loved it.
Good.
This was great.
Good.
I'm definitely honored to sit as a lay elder on this team. We have a great staff and a great team that works together. I'm humbled by it. I truly am.
Come see us at NorthWoods. Brian will give you a yellow card on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to the NorthWoods Church Matters podcast. If you'd like to find out more about NorthWoods Church, you can visit us at our website, www.northwoodschurch.org. Again, that's www.northwoodschurch.org.